Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going this evening? Welcome to the Reseller Show, episode number 33. My name's Andy Lawrence.
And my name's Kev Blackburn.
Welcome to the show. How y'all doing this evening? I hope you're doing fine and dandy. I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. How are you getting on, Kev?
I'm doing outstanding, thank you. Doing really, really well, thanks. I think I said the same thing last week, but these Mondays come around quick, don't they?
Don't they just? It feels like just the other day that I was speaking to you, and yeah, 7 days has passed. It is absolutely crazy how quickly it comes around, but that's all good. Just gives me a chance to catch up with my good mate and some of our virtual mates at the same time. So
that's the brilliant thing about this reseller show. That's what I love about it. It's just a virtual mastermind. Those guys that are interested in all things building businesses online, reselling on Amazon, eBay, Facebook, you name it. And we've got it's been quite a jam-packed week. We're looking at the show notes for this evening. We've got lots of things to talk about.
We do have plenty to get cracking with now. I need to log on to our YouTube channel just to have a look at the chat and see who's in, because I've not yet done that. So let me just do that real quick.
Yeah, we are live. We've got a couple of people watching at this point. I think people get notified. Not entirely sure what the notification things are like since going back to the original software, but we'll persevere, Andy.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there in the end. It can be a little bit slow, but according to this, we've got 10 people watching already, so that's a very good start. And then as people see the notification, I'm sure they will filter in as and when they get here. So who have we got quickly? Simon Hesse's in. Good evening, Simon. Kev's in. Danny's in.
I'm in, yep.
The other Kev's also in. Sam's in. How you doing? Missed you last, or what was it? Yeah, missed you last week, Sam, at the implementation day. It's a shame you couldn't make it, but yeah, good to see you. FBA UK. Sean's in as always. Good to see you, Sean. Hasn't had to pull up on the motorway today, hopefully, to catch us. Luke's in. How you doing, Luke Pastor? Mr. Super Johnny Blaze is in. What an awesome username. How's it going, Mr. Super Johnny Blaze? And someone who has it's Maureen's in as well. Thanks for putting your name there, Maureen. That makes it easier for me. And the other Simon, We've got both Simons in. It's a good day if we've got both Simons on board, isn't it?
Hey, we're doing really, really well. It's great. Isn't it great just to hang out with together every week? Fantastic. Good to see you, Simon, Kev, Danny, Chris. There's so many of us now. It's like it would take maybe 10 minutes just to say hello to everybody.
Well, that would be cool, isn't it? It would be cool if it would take ages to say hello to everyone.
Yeah. Luke, good to see you, Luke. Sean, as always. We've got Matt in. Wow, amazing. Yeah. Shall we get on to some news? There's some exciting news.
Yeah, let's get cracking. What's been going on in the world of Amazon and resellers recently?
I'm just getting my show notes here from Des. So you guys that are using the Facebook group, she is capturing all your questions. So we've got a few questions and things to go through. So she's doing a great job behind the scenes getting the show off the ground. But there was a headline this week from CBS News, and it was basically sharing, I don't know whether you guys saw it, but it was sharing off the Amazon Prime Air, this delivery drone, and it was like this launch pad, and you saw this little drone, and it flew off, and it was basically to I think we mentioned it maybe last episode or the couple of shows ago where we were talking about where's Amazon in 5 years or so, and a lot of us were talking about the drones and how it would work, and they are definitely pushing this Prime Air for sure.
Yeah, it does seem to be. I mean, it still just feels so far-fetched, but they're not letting it drop. I just thought it was one of those promo stunts or something that you might have where they're just not really serious, but it gets a lot of people's attention. But no, it really does seem like they want to make it a thing. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that all works and how many people just want to kidnap the drone just to have their own drone. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, did we? Sorry, Andy. Didn't we have that issue with the airport? With was it Stansted or
No,
Heathrow?
I think it was one of the major ones, either Gatwick or Heathrow. I think so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a publicity stunt. Amazon causing disruptions.
Yeah. I mean, they're real things now. They're pretty big, and they can do a lot of damage if they're flown in the wrong place. So I'm sure there has to be a load of brand new rules and governing bodies to make sure that everyone's supposed to be doing the right thing. And can you imagine if it's all automated and one of them loses its flight path? There needs to be a fail-safe in place to make it just land safely, because if it runs out of battery or loses its way or something, you imagine an Amazon drone going on the loose and chasing people down the high street. It would be quite bizarre, I think. So,
yeah, it wouldn't be good, would it? It wouldn't be good for the Terminator era that we're nearly upon. You've got some drones just like all around people and stuff. But I just thought that was interesting news. I still think that it is something that they're obviously pursuing. They're putting a lot of money into their jets, and it's just insane the size of Amazon and what they're able to do. I think regardless on the ins and outs of the business, the actual the company themselves and how they treat sellers and the issues that we face and all the rest of it, I think we're in a good place with Amazon. I mean, they're a leading company in the world, and you've got to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I think so. It's going to be interesting. I must admit, I do get that slight feeling after watching what was it, RoboCop, the movie where the private company ends up governing the security and everything else like that for the world, and it all gets all a bit corrupt. I don't think we're too far away from that. Another 20 years and Amazon could be overseeing the private police force. Can you imagine Amazon private police and looking after the prisons and all sorts of things?
Well, I mean, there's only, if you think of Amazon, the history of Amazon, like obviously the way they started selling books and but they appear to be going into different markets all the time, and when they enter a market, usually they will, and this actually goes on to the second piece of news. Usually they'll become, whatever they decide to do, they're going to become significant players in that market. Whatever they do, whether they wanted to start opening up their private NHS, they'd probably be a good NHS. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
whatever they decide to do, they appear to do things right. So interesting.
As long as you're not their competitor, because you don't want to be their competitor, because they will just seek out and destroy anyone in their path.
Yeah, and this goes on nicely to the second piece of news. And later on in the show notes, we'll have to link these up in the description. But basically, there's this another headline that says, "Here is what keeps Amazon ahead of the e-commerce competition." And to be honest with you, I think it's just any competition. This is 5 things, right? This is what this lists. Number 1, and I'd love for you guys in the chat to let me know if you agree. Number 1, the C and C's strategy. Basically, what this is saying is Amazon, they're very good at identifying whether they've got a rising competitor, and they will just see that and seize it. They will take it. They will buy it. They will use it. They will shut it down. They'll do whatever they have to do to keep it smaller than they are. And I think that's what a lot of what was there a couple of examples? I can't name it live right now, but I'm convinced there was like a social media. There was a platform that was rising, and one of the big companies was like, right, I'm taking that. Mm-hmm. Facebook with Instagram, for example, Mark Zuckerberg was like, I'll take that for myself, thank you. So that's what they do. That's number 1. Number 2 is customer service, right? So that's what Amazon are known for, customer service. Number 3 is the Amazon affiliate program. Obviously, they have a load. I can't even tell you how many affiliates that they have promoting Amazon all the time. Number 4 is Amazon Prime, which obviously changed. It revolutionized what we do right now. And then number 5 is their strict quality control protocols. Does that sound like a reasonable 5 points?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely true. I would say on all of those accounts. I don't know. It's hard to say, at what point was the pivotal point, because when you're a huge company, being a huge company, I think helps. And when you're a huge company, you have huge money and huge power, then it's already going to happen type of thing, because they can make progress by just pushing their weight around to a certain extent, as you say, about seeing and seizing. If someone makes a good idea, someone has a really good idea that will help Amazon and benefit Amazon, they just buy them. They just turn up and say, can we buy you, please? We'll make everyone on the board mega rich, and we'll just assimilate all the good points of that business, take it on board, and then probably just throw it away, because they can do that. They've got the power to do that. But it'd be interesting to try and locate the pivotal point where they became a bookseller and just a general seller, to getting that traction. And I really believe when there was a point where they just wanted, in the early years, it was all about that customer process and getting to the point where everyone we just integrated it into their daily routines. And so, Amazon for a very long time were operating with no real profit to show, because everything was just going back in. A lot of the profit, a lot of the things Amazon was selling, there was no real profits on, because they just needed to integrate themselves into society. And for a long time, I believe a lot of the board were putting Jeff under pressure, saying, we need to, this growth is great, but we do need to make some money at some point. What's the deal with that? But he was really focused on building the best possible thing he could, and holding out, and for quite a long time without, really making a lot of profit, I think really cemented its position in the business, because he was willing to do what a lot of businesses weren't, basically, which is to really keep it very lean on the profit fronts till that point that they dominated the space. So it's a remarkable thing, and a really impressive thing that he's managed to achieve in the time that he has. Literally everyone didn't rate him, said, you can't sell books on the internet, it won't become anything, and it's just not only succeeded but become the biggest in the world. So hats off to him.
I think there's a really valuable lesson to all of us that are interested in obviously we're here building businesses for ourselves. I think the first, being long-term focused, and it's obviously we're here to make money, right? We're here to make money, make profit. But the truth is, like, if you make £100,000 in 1 year, fantastic, you've made a load of profit. But like, that £100,000 could have been invested in growing your team, or building new businesses, new enterprise. So that's all he's done, really. He's every year, every month, he's like, how much money have we made? What are we spending it on? There's no point in having it in the bank. Can we invest money to make money? I'm convinced everything that he's spent, and it's the reality. It's what we've seen right now. Every bit of money that he's spent, he's probably had the mindset, this is going to make me money, this is going to make me money, this is going to make me money. Like, every bit of money that he's invested in his fulfillment centers, in his systems, in his people, everything is to do with making money. And I know personally, that's one of the mindsets that I've definitely tried to incorporate in my own business. I'm always thinking, if I'm going to spend money, anytime we spend money, it's always like, is this money is going to make me more money?
Yeah.
Like, just a fundamental principle. Like, I think I touched on it the other day. Like, when I first moved into the warehouse, just a quick story for you guys. When I first moved into the warehouse with Kylie and the team back in 2016, the first thing I wasn't thinking about was, I'm going to buy a shelf, because a shelf's not making me money. Even a table. Like, I wasn't thinking about, I'm going to buy a table. A table's not making me money. We were on the floor on our hands and knees, because that is like, I'm not investing in a table right now. Do you see what I mean? It was like, where am I putting my money? My money is going in products. My money is going to make me more money. And the only time, even the sign at the warehouse, like, I got this, if somebody asked me the question, like, why did it take you so long to get the sign in the warehouse? And it was like, well, it was not making me money. The
Yeah.
only
So,
the time we invested into the warehouse sign was we only invested in the warehouse sign simply because it was now costing me money, because we would get phone calls saying, where is your warehouse? And we'd have the girls here that have to go out with the phone and wave the lorry down. And I was like, hang on a minute, get a sign up. You know what I mean? So
makes sense.
just a bit of a philosophy
Yeah.
of money,
I
really.
remember that. Yeah, I remember the first photos you started sharing. The boxes were just on the floor, the big old warehouse, and just boxes on the floor. That's how you started. Like
Yeah.
no places to sit, no tables, no nothing. Just get the stock in, get it sorted, get it out, and build up from there. It's an impressive, you know, evolution from where you started, and it makes sense. It makes sense. Only invest in things that are going to make a return for you, and at some point, when the time is right, when it gets to that point, you can invest in the structure and things like that. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You've got to be careful of the things that you are investing in to make sure you get a return from them, for sure.
100%. 100%.
Just wanted to, before we move on from that, Luke just mentioned in the chat, apparently there was a nappy seller in America and apparently invented the subscribe and save structure, and Amazon ultimately destroyed them and lost $150 million in the process by doing it. It's an interesting story, so worth looking up and reading about. I've not heard of that one, but I can believe it, Luke. It's you know, that if they set their sights on something, then you know they'll do whatever they can
This
to
is
get
it.
in.
This is it. I mean, you think, right? If Amazon come knocking at your door and they want something of yours, let's say they came knocking at my warehouse door and saying, Kev, I want take massive Amazon action.
Yeah,
I take it. I'll put
yeah,
Amazon in, like, give me
yeah,
several millions, happy days.
yeah. That's it.
You know,
No
so
worries.
that's what this
That's
mom
what they do.
mom and pop. I'll definitely read up on that. If you've got any links or anything to share, Luke, then it'd be an interesting story that to read.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Right. Have we got any more news before we move on?
Um, I think there was a couple more, but
They were the
nothing.
main ones.
Yeah, they were the main ones. They were the main ones. But we did have some success of the week, I think.
Oh yeah.
Luke, not Luke. Sorry, Sean. Sean, success of the week. He put a post out saying that he got over £700 sales on the 7th.
In a day.
Outstanding,
Yeah.
amazing. In a day, that is. Yeah, in a day.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sean. You're absolutely smashing at the moment, which is not really surprising because the amount of work I see you putting in with whenever you post is really impressive. The car's always full up with stock, and you're out every day. You're hunting it down, you know, and your house is full up. All the rooms are full up in your house. You know, I've seen you documenting it, and yeah, it's impressive. So I'm sure your massive £700 day will very soon be the lowest day that you have, and we'll just keep getting better and better. You know, we're not even into it's traditionally you know, and it's still not anywhere into our stride when it comes to the peak of Q4 yet. You know, the summer can be a relatively up and down time for a lot of sectors. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how you fare in Q4. So I'm looking forward to seeing all your success then. But congrats, Sean. It's great to see.
Amazing to see. I think success breeds success. So
Yeah,
once you get the momentum up, once you get into the flow, it's fantastic. There's so many of us. There's so much success that we've already had, and we're only in June. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. Really, we've still got till the end of the month, and then it's
yeah,
going to be Q3. I think we are definitely on a huge momentum push, and it's
yeah,
going to be fantastic. So keep doing what you're doing, Sean. Congratulations, amazing.
absolutely. Well done, sir. And we're up to 17 watching now. Excellent. Welcome along, guys. If we haven't said hello to you that are all filtering in and coming in after we got started, but yeah, that's awesome. So Yeah, over £200 profit in one day. Yeah, great stuff, Sean. Good to see you cracking on. Right, so moving on, I've actually got a question for the community this week, actually, Kev. I've been looking into. I've been sharing this with my communities on Facebook. But as you know, I hold an event every year in the summer where I get a load of resellers together, and we talk everything to do with the reselling platform, whether it be wholesale, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, e-commerce, and all the bits in between. Now, I've previously called that the FBA Academy conference because my my coaching product was called the FBA Academy, and so that kind of just ended up evolving there. But the amount of people, and more so recently, find out about this and ask me, "What is it, Andy? What is the FBA Academy Summit?" And it's sort of dawning on me now that maybe the name has evolved instead of being chosen for a very specific reason, and I think it's outlived itself, and the fact that people have to ask me what it is means it's probably I'm not doing a very good job at describing the conference and what goes on there. So I've been asking in the last few days for my some help in renaming the event and make it a bit more self-explanatory as somewhere that everyone can come together and build their businesses as a central hub to get a better idea of your business. So I posted up a poll in my group, and maybe anyone in the chat could give us a shout and tell me which one you prefer, and that would be very useful.
What were the options, Andy?
So the options were we kept the same, which is the FBA Academy Conference, and then we have the UK Reseller Conference, and then we have the UK Reseller Summit, or the London Reseller Conference. They were the top ones, and I think Reezy came in on one. Let me see if I can find Reezy's suggestion. He's got one more here.
I like the conference. Yeah. I like the conference. I think you should stay with the conference and not Summit.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the conference. I do agree that FBA Academy, that should change now, I think, because it has evolved. Like you've evolved. You know, the whole day has evolved. I mean, last year we had Reezy talking about merch, for example, which is obviously not FBA. So
yeah, it's kind of, that's the thing. It's sort of outgrown its original purpose in that respect. So yeah, something that tells more what it's about would be useful. Reezy came up with UK Ecom Summit. Now that's pretty cool. Actually, it's quite catchy. I like that. But do people associate e-commerce simply with online websites and not necessarily Amazon selling? So I'm not sure if it's an umbrella thing enough, or I'm not sure about that one. But interestingly, so which one did you naturally go for, Kev? Would you naturally gravitate to the UK Reseller Conference? Would that be the one that you naturally go towards?
That is personally I've not had a chance to really think about it, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. I mean, I think with the Online Arbitrage UK Summit, you don't want to call it Summit because we've already got something like that now in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a conference, calling it something like a UK reseller conference, I think it ties something into. Yeah, I think it ties it into the Reseller Show as well in some ways. You know, we're talking, and obviously you guys that are in the chat, hopefully you guys are going to be there. So I know last year was very fun, Andy. I really enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to meet Reezy for the first time. It was a pleasure to meet Luke for the first time. That was the time I actually met you for the first time in person.
I think it was actually. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, it was the first time that we met in person. Yeah, God, it's all that we've done in the year, Kev. It's crazy, isn't it? That's just not even a year that since we met in person, and so much has gone on. It feels like I've known you for donkey's years already.
Yeah. Well, it's been an amazing 12 months. So I remember last year the conference, amazing. I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic to be in that type of setting where it's a bit more intimate and it's really amazing content. But then afterwards, having some drinks and just having some drinks with everybody, walking around London with at midnight. It was just great fun. I think it's just a great weekend, really.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I think we can thank Luke Pastor, who's in the comments, for our little jaunt around London for the entire
I
night.
love that, Luke.
Well, the man's single-minded. What can I say? So, yeah, Simon says it was a great day. Simon was there. Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of the regulars have been to that. So yeah, it's good. And so I think I'm erring towards the UK reseller conference. It kind of does. It kind of says what it is a lot more, and you can't kind of get it wrong, because I appreciate reseller might be sort of more aimed towards online arbitrage sellers and retail arbitrage sellers, but I think it's close enough to sum up the entire sort of community of what we're doing. So I think that's probably one. So I'm going to be rebranding the event, the UK reseller conference. I think that's probably, it's certainly everyone that voted, that's the clear favorite so far anyway. So that's probably going to be in that direction. But I'm literally putting it together right now. But the speaker lineup is exciting me. We've got some new speakers for this year as well. Some regulars returning, like yourself, Kev. I'm very pleased to.
Am I going?
That's what I've heard.
You guys in the chat heard it first.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've asked Kev to come back. He's got an awful lot to give, and I've still really enjoyed listening to what you've got to say, Kev. So I'd love to have you back as a speaker. As well, Luke is coming back, and really interesting what Luke's got to share this year, because Luke's been doing some hard work in the used book sector, and he's got some very cool things that he's going to be sharing with us this year that I'm going to be taking notes on, and some scale and some scalability options and some really exciting stuff. I think he's really moving the needle in that sector. So I'm looking forward to him sharing that. Some other speakers to be announced, but I'll share more as we get closer. But Simon Hesse said, "Have you got a date yet, Andy?" I do. The date is now confirmed. The tickets, the flights, I've booked Reese's flights. That's all nailed in. The hotel has been confirmed. So the date is the 27th of July. It's a little bit earlier. We're normally in August, but it's 27th of July this year. I'm actually going to be in Los Angeles in August, so we've had to move it forward a little bit. But that's the date for your diaries. If you want to hold it free, I'd appreciate it. All the further details will be coming. I'm still figuring that out, and actually putting the website together with all the details and booking details and all that. But yeah. That's as we speak. I'm putting that together, but yeah, date for your diaries if you can make it 27th of July. It'd be great to have you along. But yeah, thanks for your help with that. That's very useful.
No problem. I think I think the word conference suits you, Andy, for what you do. You know, my word is mastermind. I love masterminding. That's really what I do, especially here in the warehouse. I hold masterminds. You hold a conference, which is fantastic. I think. It works very well. Looking forward to it. Forward to it. I know. Last year I'd never stayed at the Vanderbilt before, but it was. It's there again, right?
Yep, same place once again. I was there. This week actually. It was quite beautiful. I was, as part of the wholesale domination course, I offered a 1-day implementation day as part of the course. So you'd learn the course over the 5 weeks, understand the wholesale technique, and then at the end of it, we get together in person. I chose the Vanderbilt again, so we all got together last week on Wednesday and went through the steps to actually get people going and doing the stuff, rather than just watching it and being passive, actually getting people going. We were researching suppliers, actually getting contracts signed and deals agreed on the day. So we had a fantastic day there last week. But it's a great venue. It works out very well, and everyone said how much of a nice venue it is. So I'm definitely sticking with the Vanderbilt for the conference for sure.
Yeah, loved it. I mean, from where I'm from, I walked into that place like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, looking forward to it, and hopefully you guys that are in the chat, it will be great to see you there as well if you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be great to see the regulars back and also some new faces. Would be very cool. But yeah, looking forward to that. I'll share more details as and when we get confirmation of the various different speakers coming through and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I always try every year to try and do something bigger and better each year. So that's always a good thing to try and sort of, you know, outcompete yourself from the last time, and that's a good one to try and push forward. So yeah, I will keep you guys posted as and when I know more.
Awesome.
All right, moving on.
Some questions. Yeah, we've had a number of questions that have come in. Let's have a look here. Mick Armstrong, he had a question come in, and he said, hey guys, question for the Reseller Show. And that's the great thing about this show. It's because it's weekly. If you guys have got any questions, don't hesitate to either use the Facebook group, you can email us, do whatever you need to do if you want a question on the show. So Mick says, hey guys, question for the show. How do you streamline accounting of your Amazon sales? Do you print off individual orders and Amazon invoices? Or do you bulk everything together every payment period?
Yeah, I'm not one for doing individual transactions. That would be quite a lengthy process. Personally, I'm trying to round everything up. But yeah, you've I think you're the strategy and the organization guy to answer that question, Kev. But you use everything.
Yeah. Nicely deflected there.
That's a question.
You just batted it at me.
Yeah. Well, if you want my honest answer, I let my bookkeeper deal with it because it makes my head.
Sorry, guys. I just need the toilet. Okay.
We love tax questions. Tax and accounting questions, the best questions for this show. But yeah, no, I use a bookkeeper to keep track of most of my stuff for me because I hate it. It's very time consuming, and very quickly I found myself getting annoyed with the whole process. So I got a bookkeeper on board very early on who does a great job for me, and I really just need to check in from time to time and then spend a bit of time getting depressed to sort out the bits as and when they turn up. But in terms of accounting, I think it's important to get some software involved and to make sure you can streamline it as much as you can, because as you scale, Mick, things will become quite heavy duty. So in terms of time, sorry. See, I'm allergic to the question. It's catching out already. But yeah, I would see if you can find some accounting software. There's several that will plug in and you can make use of. But what do you use? I assume you have an accounting software, Kev, that you plug in and will draw your payments and your figures out that you can semi-automate it. I mean, you are the automation king, so I would be surprised if you didn't have a strategy for automating this process.
No strategy, me, complete chaos. No, yeah. So obviously this is just from my own personal experience. Obviously, myself and Andy cannot give tax advice and things, so that's just a given for anybody watching this. We always recommend, obviously, an accountant that can help you. The problem that we've got, there's not many accountants that know what they're talking about when it comes to Amazon. So there is a good friend of ours from Passive Tax, Mark from Passive Tax. Highly recommend. We met him at the summit. Such a nice guy. And but yeah, okay. So what I've done throughout my journey, I did everything through my accountant. I had the first time I needed an accountant, I had like lots of different meetings with 4 different accountants, and every single one of them didn't have a clue. There was like selling on Amazon, like they couldn't work out in their minds that third-party sellers are selling on Amazon. They were just like, What, you're Amazon? No, I'm not Amazon. Anyway, and anyway, pushing past that, I ended up going with my accountant, and we ended up sort of, in many ways, figuring this out. And I was using sort of spreadsheets to begin with, the Google Sheets to begin with, Mick, and I'll just capture all my purchases. I would capture, obviously, in Amazon itself, like Amazon, they've got lots of different payment screens. If you just go under payments, you can look at all your disbursements. It breaks out everything. It breaks everything up. So obviously that's useful. We certainly don't ever, we don't print off individual orders, or we don't look at individual transactions. It would just be too much, just far too much to go through. So yeah, that's how we started, with just Google Sheets, just trying to figure this out, right? But over time, we've evolved our system to be more streamlined. So I highly recommend that you use one of the accounting tools, such as a Sage One or a QuickBooks, or something that can actually attach to your financial accounts, whether it is your bank accounts, your current accounts, or your credit cards, something that like brings all the transactions in, and then you just assign the codes, like what that transaction was, what it refers to. Obviously, with business, you've got in a financial year, you've got like obviously the financial year end. So you've got to do the big main, what ultimately did you make money in that year? You've got, if you're VAT registered, you've now got your, depending on how you manage your VAT, but for us, we do it quarterly. So every 3 months, you've then got to do VAT. You've got lots of other things in terms of legally managing your business. So the confirmation statement, you've got all these different things. It's crazy. The whole world of just, all I want to do is sell this cup for more money. And all of a sudden now I've got to fill in forms and stuff.
Yeah, it's not the most glamorous part of what we do, is it? But it's a necessary evil, unfortunately. So the most efficient way you can do is going to help you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, get some type of accounting tool, whether it is a Sage One, a QuickBooks, or something that can allow you to get everything in. You don't miss anything. It shouldn't miss anything. It shouldn't miss any transactions. The last thing you want to do is miss transactions, especially if you're going to have to, if you're VAT registered, you're going to have to request invoices from stores. Obviously, your wholesaler should just give you your invoices anyway. You need to make sure that you've got a system in place for like reduced VAT items depending on what you're selling. So what we will do, we manage that on a daily basis, like because the value, and anybody who's here watching this right now and they are VAT registered, this is literally could be the make or break of your business, because at the end of the day, like if you're not getting your VAT right with reduced VAT products, these are 0% items or 5% items. If you are just paying 20% on everything, or whatever your VAT, I think there's a flat rate scheme as well. If you're just paying 20% on everything, you could be giving the government literally thousands upon thousands and thousands upon thousands of pounds. Like the way that the system is set up, and I hope I don't have a government official come through the door and just take me away in a straitjacket or something. The way it's set up, you're always going to pay more tax.
Yeah.
If you do not, they're never going to set up this system for you not to pay. You're always going to pay more. Like that's just the reality of it. So reduce VAT items. If you are selling anything like a coffee, a tea, nappies, anything that's reduced VAT items, whether it's lady products, tampons, whatever, right? These are products that you're going to be making more money on. So in terms of accounting, it's super, super important to do that. And you've got to go into Amazon and change the tax codes. So if you're selling anything like a coffee, for example, you've got to go into your Amazon Sell Central account, you've got to go and change the tax code, because Amazon, the default will be 20%. So you've got to go in and tell Amazon that is actually a coffee. So it will put it down to 0%. And then when the customer potentially requests an invoice, they get the invoice with a 0% VAT like the rate, not 20%. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
So
it's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield to begin with.
It is a minefield. It is. There's no doubt about it. It is a minefield. But one thing that I want to stress to everybody is this is something that just improves over time. And every encounter I have with my accountant, and I guess that you'll probably agree, Andy, you'll always learn something new. You're like, what? We've been doing this wrong for all this time. Like, why didn't you tell me 13 months ago? Yeah. You know, and a lot of the times, this is between friends, but a lot of the time, one of the things that I've learned, and I can't remember who told me this, but accountants work for the government. They don't work for you. Yeah. They're tax collectors. So whether that's true or not, I'm not here to accuse anybody. I'm just simply saying that in my mind.
That's trained, isn't it? Ultimately, the training that they go through is to make sure that they do everything by the book and to tick the boxes, and that's exactly what they do most of the time. So, yeah, and that as a business owner, you've got to have a bit of an understanding. Like, if they're sending you a document saying you've got £19,000 to pay in your VAT bill, you're going to want to really look into that before you start signing things and start giving money away. Yeah. Like, if any type of tax bill or anything is, get a bit of an understanding of, like, you don't need to be the expert, just get a bit of an understanding. Like, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Like, get somebody that, get somebody that's working for you, and maybe sort of like looking at avenues that you can legally pursue to make your accounting as efficient as possible. So you're paying the right tax. This isn't about not paying this is not about not paying the tax that you're supposed to. This is absolutely about just getting it right. Getting it right. Yeah, no, it's right. Still got that allergic reaction coming through, but it is it is important, and it is something you do kind of have to say, right, I'm going to get my head around this to make sure of it, because it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. And quite often I've found over the years, if you ask an accountant a question, they will answer that question. They won't say, oh, okay, you're asking about this, let me tell you everything I know about this. They'll answer that question and then sit there and wait for the next one. So it is hard work, and I probably spent an awful lot of money over the years on far more tax than I should have, learning these lessons as I go along and figuring this stuff out. And it's a good incentive to get your head around it by looking back and saying I've spent far too much money, so it's important to get your head around it. But once it's learned and you get your head around it, then it isn't that bad. But there is a lot to learn, and one thing I would say is get your head around it and get it fixed up while you're growing and you're relatively small, because if you try and corral it into shape when you're a lot bigger and there's loads more going on, it's 10 times harder. So start and get a good efficient process in place when you're small and you're growing, and then as you grow, the system will grow with you. But yeah, a good accountant that has a good grasp of Amazon will make a massive difference. It really will help you a lot. So I definitely would recommend Mark Hawley. If you're starting from scratch and looking for accounting, go and give him a shout. He has got a good he's an Amazon specialist accountant. He's got a good understanding of Amazon. He's going to point you in the right direction and get everything in all ship shape, which will make a massive difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there is a lot of tools out there that you can use as well. Like, obviously, from an accounting point of view, the Sage ones and the QuickBooks and things. There is there is tools to link Amazon to the accounting tools. So you've got things like A2X, for example. What that will do is it will look at every disbursement, and it will allow you to tell each disbursement, or look at each disbursement, like the components of that disbursement, assign that, and then it will go into your QuickBooks, for example. There is Seller Board, for example, as well. I think we just saw that in the chat as well. Mm-hmm. That's something that's definitely user-friendly, give you a bit of an understanding. And I think that you've got plenty to work on there. I think,
Yeah, it is. It's that is the way to go. I'm sorry, I'm just catching up with the comments here. Yes, Seller Board is quite a few people are recommending that. Sorry, I don't know what's going on in my throat today. So it's not a good time to develop a frog in my throat, is it? But there we are. We'll move on.
I hope
so.
so.
Subject. Get on the subject of tax, and it'll clear up.
I hope someone didn't start watching listening to the podcast at that moment and just start hearing like what is this podcast all about?
It's about allergies and coughing related issues, but alrighty, moving on. So just it's about that time of the show now that we've got 16 people watching live and 6 people that have given us a thumbs up, and I know some people prefer to wait until the end of the to the end of the show before they give their judgment, which is probably fair enough if you want to toe the line and be strict on your judgment, and maybe wait to the end in case it's rubbish, in which case you can give us a thumbs down. But hit the like button, people. Yep, there we go. Sam's on board with the social. With the.
Do you know what we need? We need some sort of I don't know. Instead of Sam doing it in the comments, we need him to send us a recording of him saying it, and then I'll play the recording.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that would be great. We'll have to get a snippet. Oh, it's going up by the second. 10. We're going. It's getting better.
It's getting there. It's getting there. It's yeah.
Or we just go sit and wait until everyone does it. You're not going to get any more now. That's it. No more Reseller Show. I'm sure there's a few more people can hit it. Anyway, let's move on. Enough of the banter. Do we? I guess we've got some more questions to go over. Obviously, guys in the chat, if you've got anything that's been on your mind this evening, give us a shout out and we can answer some live questions. But what else have we got to chat about?
Just reading question 2 here. It was from Simon. Question from Simon. He's in the chat. Yeah, he said this week I had an authenticity complaint for an item I know is genuine. It's a Smiggle product bought directly from Smiggle. Is it best just to raise a claim with Seller Central, attaching the invoice receipt and asking them to remove the complaint? They're asking for an action plan to prevent similar complaints, but I've done nothing wrong here. Nothing to change.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough, Simon. That's what I would do. I just, that's why it's really important to keep your invoices and your receipts and things like this for this purpose. But if you send it over to them and you give them that, there's 99% of the time it will go away. Isn't that the case, Kev? I don't know. If you've got anything more to add? But,
I think you're right. I think the one of the underlining tips that everybody should do, especially if you're working with Amazon, with the beast that they are. They're amazing at many things, but they're also very challenging at many things. And the truth is, they will, I've told the story before, they will question you on things, even if they've even told you that you can do things. Or, make sure, obviously, with your receipts and your invoices, make sure you keep every bit of evidence. You need all that anyway. But even if, for example, they tell you something, where they've given you an instruction on how to do something, make sure that's in you always know where to get it. So like I give you the story. I don't know whether you guys if everybody's heard this story, but they told me in writing that I could have multiple seller accounts, and I'll not get into the whole story right now, but I kept that as evidence because I knew one day they may question me on multiple seller accounts because it's against terms and conditions. You've got to get actual approval. And lo and behold, 9 months later, I get this this incredibly to the point email. It was awful, like the red flag of death, alarm bells. I was thinking I've got to give up the warehouse. I'm looking for another job. It was like, oh my God, there was like, turn this seller account down, like just shut it down. You're not allowed it. I sent them the screenshot saying, look, 9 months before you told me I can have it. Here's all the evidence. And they just sent back saying, carry on.
All right, fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But that's how it's going for you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep copies of everything. Good shout.
Yeah, but the secret to this is even the day-to-day shipping, right? If you're polybagging something, take a photo of it. If you're bubble wrapping something, I'm not saying that you have to do it for everything, but there is times if you look in the inbound performance, Amazon will say that this wasn't polybagged, and we're like, I can assure you it was polybagged.
Yeah.
And then you send them the evidence saying, look, here's a photo of this item that you're saying is not polybagged, and they'll get back to you saying, this has now been removed from your account. I apologize for the mistake. So keep all the evidence.
Yeah, I agree. That, you know, it's definitely, the more volume you go through, the more chances you're going to get of some mistakes on their behalf. So the more resources you've got at your disposal, the more chance you can make it go away. So yeah, just take copies of everything you possibly can. And yeah, if you're sending in something a little bit more valuable than normal, definitely take a picture of that. Things like that. Just if there's something that you really don't want to lose on in terms of value or anything going missing, then yeah, it doesn't take a second to type a snap with your phone or whatnot. Then yeah, a very wise move.
Yeah. Next question. I've got another question from Paul Chefs. Basically, I've got a screenshot here. Is this program new? It's certainly new to me. Amazon buy our products from us and then resell them to EU marketplaces. Interested in thoughts and insights. Possibly they would do this in order to give customers cheaper prices. If our .co.uk price is set to 25 and our EU prices is set to Euro 35. Basically, he's put this screenshot here where he got this email basically saying that I'm assuming along the lines of Amazon are going to buy these items from us to sell on. Is that something you've heard of, Andy?
I have heard of it. It feels like I heard about it a while back, and it never really developed into anything. I don't think I followed it up, but I vaguely remember seeing something like that. Just trying to. It was quite a while ago. I remember thinking maybe they were getting around the whole Brexit thing, maybe because that just started when this email came on. I remember thinking, what are they trying to achieve via doing this? But I was quite fishy at the whole thing about what they're trying to do. They sell your product outside Amazon.
Looking at that second bullet point, there was a couple of basically this email it's basically saying that we've heard sellers like you that global selling can be hard because it's confusing, right? Like you're selling things in Spain and you're like, I have no idea how I'm selling things in Spain. You know, we don't really know the ins and outs on the everything that they do. It's crazy. But basically Amazon are then saying, to simplify your experience, we've created an FBA program that lets you benefit from increased international demand without the complexity of international transactions. Mm-hmm. We've reviewed your account and you're eligible to participate in this program. Here's how it works. Right, so Amazon may sell your products outside of amazon.co.uk within the European websites. You'll be paid the same as with any other sales transaction. And for a limited time, there's no additional fees. Not fully understanding that. But then Amazon will only sell the products from European marketplaces where you've provided value added the VAT number in Seller Central. So I guess that if you're not VAT registered in EU, then that means that doesn't apply, right?
Amazon will sell only the products from European marketplaces where you produced a VAT number. Yeah, that's from what I can tell.
Or from maybe if you're VAT registered in the UK, then maybe is that what it's saying that you can then sell? It's quite a complex. It's a complex topic. It's not clear. It's one of these things. Amazon have always got these different initiatives that are coming out. You'll see them all the time, like they are trialing this program or they're trialing this pilot program. To be honest with you, some can be confusing, and the best thing to do, I'd always recommend I would recommend just asking them, get them on the phone or in email. Can you just tell me what this actually means?
I would agree with that. It's not always obvious, and half the time I think they're playing around and testing the market and seeing what might work if it gets any traction and this, that, and the other. But they have been pushing the European sales a lot. I don't know whether they've seen some in recent times. I don't know whether people are hesitant to sell in Europe because of all the cross-border tax implications and all this sort of thing. Maybe they're seeing a lot of UK sellers turning their Euro sales channels off just because it's too much of a headache, in which case they're seeing slowdown in sales. So maybe they're thinking to themselves, let's try and figure out some ways to make it easier. But
that wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what you guys think in the chat. You'll have to comment and let us know. But I wouldn't be surprised with everything that's gone on this year with Brexit and this German tax certificate and the VAT and the confusion that we all have. Like, the reality is we're genuine sellers who want to build businesses, and one of the things that we're not clued up on is accounting side of things and the legal side of things and VAT and tax certificates. So as soon as they start coming out with, you need to have German tax this and you need to have, straight away, a lot of people will be like, not for me, turn off. And they may well have had a significant spike down in their exports from the UK potentially. So they're trying to do these things.
Yeah, that actually reminds me that I just closed the window. That wasn't very smart, was it? And I was going to say there was a question that I'm going to have to reopen up now by a viewer of the show, an avid viewer of the show that is actually on Facebook. So he has emailed me. If he might might be in the chat actually. I think it was Kev, obviously not the Kev that I'm speaking to, because that would be weird. But here we go. Yeah, it was Kev in the chat that said, is it possible one of the next episodes, would you be able to discuss Amazon Pan-European FBA? And I asked him for a little bit more information, as in what specifically. And it's asking whether you or Kev signed up for the Pan-Euro program, looked into it.
No.
Bloody blah. The answer is nope. Moving on, but yeah, that's the program that they tried to push originally, and everyone went, no, don't do that, because you immediately qualify for VAT in every single country that you send goods into, because your Pan-Euro it's a good shout, actually. We haven't mentioned this for a few months. Pan-European program is the one where you physically ship your products to the country and they're stored in the country. So the idea is there's less shipping time. So if someone buys something in Europe, it's already in Europe and then can go out, but it's your products. But as soon as you store products in the country that you're selling into, you are then eligible to pay VAT in that country. It's very complicated, very costly, because you have to have an accountant to do that for you in that country. And unless you are doing a huge amount of volume to make that work, a huge amount of volume within that country to make it work, I just can't see the benefit in it. It just adds an awful lot more admin and a lot more cost to your business and confusion if we need any more of that. So it's a good shout. Kev, thank you for the question. If any of you have thought about it and were thought about giving it a go, take more time to read into it, because you could stumble into an awkward situation, and you don't want to go into that sort of like by accident. So look more into it. Pan-Euro is the one that you want to check.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things, depending on what business model that you're doing, especially for us, more sort of the retail arbitrage, the online arbitrage, the wholesale. It's something that you can build a very successful business without the need to go into those countries. I think the only time I would consider to really start pushing, okay, I'm going to sign up to that, is when you're more talking about like sort of private label, and you've got a significant brand that you're now like, do you know what I mean? You can get 100 grand plus a month if you just sent it to Germany, that sort of thing. That's the only time I would really start to think about it. I think for us, for what we want to do, I think you're good enough just not having that option. But if you've got any concerns, if you've got any thoughts, just ask Amazon and just look in your seller account. I think there's a setting in your seller account, and don't quote me on this, but it'll say something like, where is your product stored? And it gives you options, basically. Make sure it's just the UK if you're in the UK.
Yeah, that's definitely worth spending more time looking into. Kev says, cheers, guys. You're welcome. Glad I remembered that we've got that question to answer. Simon says loads of tax implications with this. As you say, I talked to Mark about it, the Amazon specialist accountant, and decided against it. Sean says, if I sell over £35,000 worth in France in 12 months, do I pay VAT in their country or in our country? I'll have to speak to Mark about it. That's what you need to do, is speak to Mark about it. There are different VAT thresholds for different countries, just to make it awkward, Sean. So definitely.
But you're right. You would have to, from my understanding, again, this is just my understanding, if as soon as you go over the threshold, then you have to become VAT registered, just like here in the UK. Once you get over the UK threshold, you have to then, it's your responsibility to ensure that you notify the HMRC that you are now VAT registered because you've gone over the threshold. The same thing applies to the thresholds of the EU marketplaces. As soon as you go over, it is your responsibility to notify that country you've gone over. And the thing is now, Amazon are more regulated now than ever before, right? So back in the day, 10 years ago or so, because I did a little bit of looking into things, when Amazon maybe weren't as regulated and the governments weren't as clued up on what Amazon are doing, they had many sellers, probably here in the UK as well, that just weren't registered. They were selling way over the threshold, just not registered. They're just basically committing tax evasion, and now Amazon have to report your income. You'll if you go past the VAT threshold in the UK and you do not register, there will come a time, you're treading on thin ice. There will come a time where Amazon, you will get an email through your Amazon account, or you may even get a letter through the door saying you've gone over the threshold. We're doing some type of investigation, because Amazon going to report all this. They're going to report it all. So this isn't to scare anybody. This is just simply to say I don't want anybody to get into trouble. Absolutely. Because us innocent sellers, sometimes if you don't know, you don't know. So the best thing to do, Sean and anybody else, is like what Andy said. Just speak to Mark. Mark is a guy who clearly has probably the most experience in terms of tax related. But again, when it comes to the EU, tax laws are different. What applies here, an accountant here may not know what to do in France. The chances are probably won't. So you've got to then employ somebody in France. And then you've got all sorts of difficulties, unless you can speak French, Spanish, German, and you know what they're talking about. Could you imagine you've now got a German accountant talking to you about accountancy in German? I mean, we struggle to understand English.
Exactly. This is why it gets so expensive and so confusing. You do have to appoint an accountant in that country, and dealing with that and that all the issues that you're saying that with that goes just a nightmare. And a good point Simon raised, actually. Just consult your accountant and take his advice, because he said Amazon gave me incorrect info on this, because if you contact Amazon support, you're going to get an Amazon support rep giving you information, and it's confusing and it's technical, and they may get it wrong. And you don't want to be, you are ultimately liable for your tax liability. You can't blame someone at the other end of an Amazon support because 3 years ago you asked a question and they gave you the wrong answer. So make sure you ask the right accountant. They're trained and qualified to answer your questions. We are just giving some by advice. We are not trained accountants, so make sure you get good advice on this, because this correct. Amazon told Simon that you don't pay VAT until you go over the threshold. That's correct if you store items in the UK and ship it to Europe, and there are various different thresholds. As soon as you store your goods in that country, immediately you are eligible for VAT in that country. So it is very difficult and highly confusing. So
it's just like foreign companies and businesses that come into the UK. They've got to apply for VAT. I think of it like they have to apply straight away. But Chris says good idea to get Mark on the show. I think we'll reach out to Mark. I think what we can do, Andy, we may ask Mark if he would like to come onto the show. We may ask you guys for as many tax-related questions as possible. Shoot them in the Facebook group. Anything and everything. We'll reach out to Mark. We'll see if he's available. Obviously, I don't know what his schedule and things. And we'll see if Mark can come onto the show. And I know at the summit, I loved him at the summit. Like, this is fantastic. When there's a very good accountant, when he doesn't come there with a speech, he stands there and he's just open to questions. Any question. And you know how difficult some tax questions can be, and you know how difficult getting an answer from accountants can be. So could you imagine being an accountant that works with Amazon and you've got a room of 90 people and you just open questions? I mean, we've got to get him on the show.
Yeah, that would be great. That's a good idea. We'll have to line him up. I'm sure he'd be happy to give us some of his time and do that. So, a good idea. So, in fact, why don't we just say that if you're listening on the podcast, or you're listening on the live chat, or you're watching it back, get your tax questions in now. And if we don't do it next week, we'll do it one of the weeks when our schedules will combine, but we'll corral all the tax questions into a tax special. So anything you've got specifically towards tax, pepper them into the Reseller Show Facebook group, and we will specifically tag them for that particular episode, and we'll pepper him with tax questions, because I definitely think it's an important thing, and we're definitely not qualified to give you advice. We're just giving you the benefit from our own experience in the past, but it's a big deal, and that would bring a lot of benefit, I think. So let's try and make that happen really soon. But
that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want to give you any. We would never give you any insight purposely trying to misguide you or anything. We just simply don't know. We're not qualified. So, always do your own research from people that can actually advise you. Definitely.
All righty. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know if we've got any more, but we're over the hour mark once again. So,
fun show tonight. I really appreciate you guys joining us as always. Whatever you are doing, wherever you are, we may have to, maybe for next week, we'll maybe remember, we may have to start asking where people are from, just to see how far the Reseller Show is reaching. So I think we're in all parts of the country right now, maybe even parts of the world. So if you're joining us from anywhere in the world, appreciate your time. And as always, it's our pleasure to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. Always a good part of the week to chat with you guys and hang out, and we always end up learning some stuff as well. So happy days. All right, guys, thanks for watching and hanging out with us. Give us a thumbs up if you haven't done so already. We always appreciate those interactions on the show, and thanks if you're listening back on the podcast or wherever you're consuming this content. We appreciate you. All right, guys, stay tuned. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next week. See you later.
Keep taking massive action, guys. See you later.